What's up, everyone? It is the end of the year, the end of 2025, and I thought there'd be no better way to close out 2025 than doing a top 5 album and top 5 song ranking. So this has been a great year for music. There's been a lot of cool tracks, a lot of cool albums that have come out across all different genres, and I wanted to share my top 5 with you, and let me know what yours were in the comments below. So to start it off, I'm going to break down my top 5 songs of the year, and then I'll break down my albums. So I'm going to go through the first 4 in no particular order, and then the final song is what I'll be calling my favorite song of 2025. First one on the list is Parachute by Hayley Williams. This was one of Hayley's additional tracks to her album, which is now called Ego Death at a Bachelorette Party. And I thought this song was terrific. It has everything I love from Hayley and Paramore, and also has everything I love from the album as a whole and her other solo work as well. I think the lyrics are great. As always with Hayley, the vocal delivery is great. And there's just something about the instrumentation that has this upbeat, but almost kind of lost in the middle in between like alt pop and rock and indie, and just has this really cool feel to it. And for that reason, it is one of my top 5 songs. The next one on the list is Oblivion by Alkaline Trio. I'm a huge Alkaline Trio fan, and when I heard they were putting out new songs this year produced by Travis Barker, I was thrilled because not only am I an Alkaline Trio fan, but I'm a Travis Barker and Blink-182 fan. So I was very excited to see what this sounded like, especially since they now have Adam Willard as a drummer. And this was the first stuff Adam was a part of when it came to the recording process. Now, overall, these songs have a really huge feel to them. And Oblivion, which was the first single from the group of songs they did with Travis, really hit. I think Matt's vocals, as always, are a standout. The instrumentals are very Matt, very Alkaline Trio, but they had a more polished sound to them due to Travis Barker's production. And I know some people were a little hesitant on that, but I actually really loved it. I thought it gave these songs a huge sound, and it fit the songs really well. Oblivion was also one of my top listened to songs on Spotify, and I think it was sitting at like 245 listens, so it tells you how much I liked it. The next one on the list is Downstairs by 21 Pilots. If you haven't heard this song, give it a listen. It is so cool. That's the only word that I can describe it as. There's so many different levels to this song. There's so many different layers to the vocal delivery. The instrumentation is absolutely sick, and it is the standoff off their album Breach for me. It just has such an awesome sound to it, and there's not much else to say. Like, it's just a killer track through and through. And I think it's probably in my top 5 21 Pilot songs because it just sounds awesome. The next one on the list is How Many Hours by Carly Hansen. Big Carly Hansen fan, and when she dropped her EP earlier in the year, I was thrilled to check it out. The whole EP is great through and through, but How Many Hours really stuck with me. I think when Carly's in a more stripped back setting with her acoustic guitar, her vocals really come through, and that's exactly what this song is. The chorus melody is insanely catchy. You can feel every single thing Carly is singing, and it's just one of those tracks that sticks with you. I listen to it all the time on rainy days. And yeah, it's a great like acoustic pop, almost folk leaning track that I think you should definitely check out because, like I said, the vocals are incredible, and I think it all just comes together super well with the instrumentation. Now, that brings us to my top song of 2025, and that is Go-Go Juice by Sabrina Carpenter. This song, chef's kiss. I love everything about this song. When I was reacting to the Man's Best Friend album, the chorus and the bridge just really hit me. I will say that this song also has my favorite bridge of the year because the whole instrumentation side of this track really shines there throughout the song. Sabrina's vocals are great. The instrumentation is awesome, very well done. But when you get to this bridge, the bridge is supposed to sound like being drunk or being tipsy, And it sonically captures that so well. It has this kind of swayed, broken up feel with the drums. All the instruments are like slightly off by like a quarter of a beat, and almost like a flam, if you're familiar with flams on a drum. They all kind of have this like almost put together sound to it, and then the vocals are hilarious, classic Sabrina Carpenter. She's mixing up words, she's slurring her words, and you put all of this together and it just makes such a cool experience that I think encapsulates the idea of the song so well. It's supposed to sound like a drunk call or a drunk text, and I don't think anybody can capture the essence of that in music better than Sabrina and Jack did on this song. So yeah, those are my top songs for 2025. Let's get into the albums. So the first album of 2025 in my top 5 is Breach by 21 Pilots. This album, like I said for Downstairs, is super cool, super creative, and there's just so much going on from song to song. Throughout the singles alone, you can hear this, but as you explore the album a little bit more, you get an even greater sense of it. There's a lot of cool synths being used throughout. There's some really just hard-hitting drums. The vocals, though, are the thing that stood out to me most about this album. I feel like with 21 Pilots albums, it's usually just a solid grouping of everything going on that makes the great music, but I think Tyler's vocals on this album are really what struck me, because he can go from this super beautiful high falsetto in one note to then a couple measures later doing this really angry scream, and I think it adds a lot of dynamics to the songs on the album, and along with the instrumentation just makes for an awesome listen. The next one on the list is Virgin by Lorde. Now, this is another album that I think really benefited from dynamics. And yes, music uses dynamics, but I think sometimes with certain genres, you can kind of get lost in just this consistent sound. And I think Lorde really uses dynamics well in this album, because from song to song, Lorde and her producers were able to go from a very, very minimalist feel. Like there's some songs where I think it's just like her vocal and a bass or very light percussion for a little bit, and then you'll get to the hook or the chorus and it just gets so big sounding, and it really just makes for an immersive experience because you're so drawn in with these vocals that are just the centerpiece of the album. And then there's these elements of music that just kind of fill up all the space around it, and it really makes for a cool listen. There's a lot of creative choices made. I think Lorde's vocal performance is awesome as well, and it is a great listen all around. Next one on the list is The Life of a Showgirl. Now, I know this album was polarizing to some people. A group loved it, a group thought it was maybe a little too safe, and I definitely see both sides there, but when I look at the year's releases, from how much I listened to certain songs to what I think of the overall production, overall vocals, overall lyricism, I do think Taylor belongs on here. And The Life of a Showgirl really is a cool album to me in the way that it was done, because yes, it has a title that I feel like it didn't necessarily cater to as much as a title like Life of a Showgirl deserves, aside from the title track. But there's a lot of cool stuff on this album. The song Father Figure I've been listening to a ton recently. It's an incredible track with a really cool attitude. There's songs like Wood and Actually Romantic that lean into Taylor's humorous side a little bit. You have some other storytelling elements that Taylor's been really strong with on past albums as well, and a bunch of different sounds from modern pop to like a retro Jackson 5 sound on the album, and surprisingly, they all work. I also really like the production on this record from the use of guitars, which we hear in Taylor's music, but the guitars are very, very prominent in the mix and the way they're used in this album to go with these dry kind of indie pop drums. And all around, I think it is a really good listen. Again, I don't think it necessarily captured the title, The Life of a Showgirl. However, when I sit down and listen to these tracks, there's no doubt in my mind that this album belongs on this list. We are now in what I will say are the definitive top 2 albums of 2025 for me. My second favorite album of the year is Ego Death at a Bachelorette Party by Hayley Williams. This is an interesting one because I almost didn't put it on the list since it wasn't intended as an album initially, but I thought since it was eventually released as an album, we're putting it on here because it is a hell of an album. This thing is just so cool in every way. Like, Hayley is so autobiographical with her writing and so specific at times, but also does it in a way where I feel like a lot of people can relate to different songs with the topics she's writing about and the way she's going about writing them, even if they are a little bit more specific. And I think the instrumentation really fits that as well. Throughout this album, there's a lot of like indie pop, alt pop, rock leaning production with some really cool vocal production as well to go along with that, using things such as heavy auto-tune from time to time. As an effect, we all know Hayley obviously doesn't need auto-tune. But there's a great mix of sounds on this album. It does kind of transition from song to song, whether it leans more onto the pop side or the rock side. But there's a very clear vision across the whole album, and I think the entire thing encapsulates Hayley's emotions incredibly well. And it really is just one of those records where you sit down, you listen to it, and you say, wow, that's a great album. No critiques as far as I'm concerned. And it just does everything it needed to. It's creative, it's fun, it's depressing, it's everything, every emotion in an album, which I love when artists do that, and Hayley absolutely killed it. Now, the top album for me of 2025 is Man's Best Friend by Sabrina Carpenter. This album, the second I finished listening to it, I knew it would be high on this list, and it's number one. Man's Best Friend by Sabrina Carpenter is everything I love about music in an album. It has songs that are depressing. It has songs that are overly happy. It has songs about so many different things in life. And yes, while it's relationship oriented, I think the way emotions are brought through in the different elements of relationships that are mentioned is so cool. Like, you have songs like House Tour, which have a very 80s feel to them, and it's very playful. Then you have songs like Don't Worry, I'll Make You Worry, which just has this very airy, very like driving in a car at night in the rain kind of feel during the summer. I don't know if that made sense, but that's how I listen to it. You have Go-Go Juice, like I talked about earlier, which is just this very fun, flirty, drunk-sounding song. You have tracks like Man-Child, the lead single, which is also very funny and has Sabrina kind of reflecting on her relationship from her own eyes, looking at the guys that she's going after, but then also looking at herself internally, how she is also going after these guys. The music video is so good for it. Some of the best edits I've seen, not only in a music video, but like the whatever team made that video needs to do a lot of like major motion picture Hollywood work if they're not already, because the edits and CG is some of the best I've seen. Yeah, there is no skip on this album. I can put it on and let it play all the way through at any time, and I can't stop listening to it. It is such a good album. The instrumentation is amazing. The vocals are amazing. My guy Jack Antonoff, who's one of my favorite producers, played a big role on the album. You can hear his arpeggiators and weird sound things he does throughout. And like I said, it's everything I love in music. There's different elements of multiple genres throughout, and it's just a great listen through and through. So that is my list of top albums of 2025, and that concludes my overall thoughts on my listening experience for the year. Thank you so much for watching the video. Subscribe if you enjoyed it. Like the video if you liked it, and comment down below what were your top 5 songs of 2025? What were your top 5 albums of the year? I'd love to know what you either found this year or what you started listening to. And yeah, let's just talk about music. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.